The first rumors of the war reached Earth as little more than static, distorted signals woven with fear, cut by interference that felt almost intentional. Outposts vanished from long-range charts. Patrol ships missed their scheduled check-ins. The silence spreading along the Orion Spur felt unnatural, too deliberate to be chance. Humanity had known conflict before, had suffered, endured, risen, but this silence was different. It tasted like the hush before a cosmic predator strikes. The USS Blackstar was born for moments exactly like this, a ship spoken about in hushed tones across military halls and scientific academies, a vessel whose existence was often dismissed as rumor because the alternative was too terrifying to be real. It was said to be humanity's first strategic phantom, a starship with no silhouette on sensors, no spectral signature, no predictable pattern. A weapon shaped from shadows and intellect. A ship built not just to fight, but to rewrite the rules of war. And yet, for years, it slept, until the first screams broke through. The distress call came from Valoris 4, a thriving planet city orbiting a quiet red star. The last transmission carried the image of a sky torn apart by angular shapes, ships that looked grown rather than built, their hulls like bone and obsidian merged. Their weapons tore through shield arrays like claws through soft earth. Civilians ran through streets lit by explosions. Their shadows stretching long as if the universe itself tried to flee the invasion. The Black Star woke in the silence that followed. It drifted out from its classified dock beneath the lunar surface like a leviathan rising from a midnight ocean. Engines ignited with a muted roar, deep, resonant, almost alive, sending ripples through space-time. Every system activated in a seamless cascade, sensory arrays blooming like flowers of light, strategic cores synchronizing with the ship's sentient architecture, and deep within, the Black Star's heart began to beat. It didn't need a crew of thousands. It needed only a few dozen humans, each chosen for their brilliance, their grit, their refusal to kneel before the unknown. They stepped aboard with quiet resolve, faces set not in fear but in something older, something carved into human history long before stars ever saw their names, Defiance. As the ship left Earth's orbit, the planet fell away behind it, a blue spark suspended in the void. For a moment, the crew simply watched. No words were spoken. They didn't need to be. Every starship that had ever launched from humanity's cradle felt that final glance back at home. But when the Black Star folded into slip space, there was no farewell. Only the cold hum of determination filling the vessel's halls. The route to Valoris 4 was littered with the remains of ships, some human, some alien, all broken in ways that suggested something vicious and calculating. The Black Star slid past drifting hulls silently, absorbing the data, mapping the unfolding disaster. It listened through the static, catching faint echoes of battles already lost. And yet the ship did not waver. It was not built to arrive politely once the damage was done. It was built to end whatever caused it. When the Black Star dropped out of slip space at the edge of Valoris 4, the scene before it looked like a graveyard twisted into a war zone. Fires burned in orbit, debris fields glittered like shattered constellations. The invaders moved with predatory grace, their organic armor pulsing with dark energy, their weapons slicing through the last remnants of orbital defense. The crew didn't speak. They didn't gasp. They didn't cry out, they simply acted. The ship activated its void shroud, dissolving into a distortion of starlight. Enemy scanners swept past it harmlessly. No lock. No trace. No awareness that the most dangerous creation of humankind now drifted among them like a phantom poised to strike. For the first time in its existence, the USS Black Star whispered to its crew through the low resonance of its neural core. It was ready. The captain placed a single hand on the command node, letting his breath steady. The entire galaxy seemed to hold still around them, waiting to see what humanity's most secret weapon would unleash, and then, with the calmness of a surgeon preparing the first incision, he gave the silent order. The Black Star answered. A star went out behind them as its primary gun charged, space bending in arcs of blue and violet. Energy condensed into a line so thin it was almost invisible, and when it fired, it made no sound. No beam. No flash. Only the sudden, horrifying absence of a dreadnought that had existed a heartbeat before, the battle for Valoris had begun, and the Black Star had only just opened its eyes. The explosion of the first dreadnought rippled through the enemy formation like a shock wave of confusion. Their ships hesitated, briefly, like predators suddenly aware that something else in the dark might be hunting them. Organic armor plates flexed. Tendrils of bioenergy shifted direction. Entire fleets adjusted their posture not out of strategy, but instinct. Predators recognized when something more dangerous entered the field. The USS Black Star drifted beneath the glare of burning debris, invisible yet fully present, a ghost threading through fire. In its wake, shattered fragments of alien hulls tumbled silently, each piece still evaporating from the pure, absolute energy that had erased the dreadnought's core. Inside the ship, the crew felt the tremors of battle only through numbers, energy readings spiking, gravitational anomalies twisting in the distance, the subtle vibrations of the ship adjusting itself instinctively like a living creature. The Black Star didn't wait for orders. It anticipated them. Its neural architecture, built from quantum-threaded synapses and human intuition models, mirrored the thoughts of its operators before those thoughts fully formed. If a human sensed danger, the ship was already shifting shields. If a tactical officer considered a vector, the ship had simulated it 100 times and was refining the best version. It was not just humanity's weapon, it was humanity's reflection, sharpened into something terrifying. Outside, the enemy began to coordinate. They had no central command, each vessel was part of a linked consciousness, a collective mind that pulsed with aggression. Now it pulsed with alarm. Beams of writhing dark energy raked the space around them as they blindly fired, searching for the phantom that had struck from the void. The Black Star slipped through the barrage, weaving between lines of death as delicately as a dancer through falling petals. The captain stood at the command node, letting the ship feed information directly into his senses. He didn't see with eyes anymore, he saw through a lattice of data, a map of three-dimensional war painted in neon arcs and shifting probabilities. Every hostile ship was a point of heat. Every possible path was a streak of faint light. He felt the crew behind him, steady and resolute. Engineers tuned the ship's silent engines. Strategists read patterns in the enemy's collective movements. Weapons specialists followed targets that did not yet know they'd been chosen. Then a faint whisper deep within the data caught the captain's attention. Valoris was still alive, but barely. Its atmosphere burned in streaks of falling debris. Whole districts glowed molten from orbital strikes. Yet cities flickered with desperate signals, hospital domes, shelters, firebreak trenches dug by automated machines trying to buy seconds of survival. The alien forces concentrated their assault on the planet's equatorial ring, tearing apart defense platforms like they were peeling the skin from fruit. Humanity's rules allowed for hesitation. The Black Stars did not. The ship surged forward, shedding what little distortion remained. For the first time, enemy sensors caught a flicker, an outline, something too massive, too smooth, too engineered to be natural. Something utterly unlike every ship humanity had ever shown the galaxy. The invaders reacted instantly. Every weapon turned, every ship twisted. The collective mind screamed. The Black Star accelerated. It shot between two colossal hive carriers, its hull grazing the biomatter membranes, slicing them open with a ripple of gravitational force. Fluids burst into space, instantly crystallizing. Screams echoed through the enemy's neural network, psychic, raw. Disorienting. Then the Black Star deployed its spectral shields. They unfolded like crystalline wings, bending light, warping physics, creating a shimmering cage of pressure waves that detonated everything caught within it. Smaller alien vessels buckled as though crushed by invisible hands, their hulls collapsing inward before erupting into clouds of dust. The crew felt the impact only as a soft vibration. The captain felt the ship wanting, eager, to strike again. The Black Star was no longer merely participating in the battle, it was reshaping it. Below, Valoris 4's surviving outposts saw the sky split open with beams of refracted light and swirling distortions. For a moment, those on the surface believed they were witnessing the end. Then they saw something else, something moving against the invaders, carving through them with impossible precision. Hope rose where fire had devoured everything else. Above the planet, the enemy's hive carriers repositioned, channeling vast quantities of dark energy into a single blast. The captain recognized the pattern instantly. They were preparing a planet cracker strike, a beam that would burn through atmosphere, crust, mantle, everything. Valorous, for would be reduced to drifting, molten ruin. The Black Star acted before a command was spoken, a cascade of energy built within its central core, a spiraling mass of spatial compression. The weapon was one of a kind, experimental, dangerous. Humans called it the Silent Lance, because it made no sound, because it gave no warning, because it left no survivors. The Black Star aligned its trajectory. Its shields rippled. The ship itself seemed to inhale, and then, reality folded. A spear of condensed gravitational annihilation punched through the void, slicing the hive carrier cleanly in half as though space itself had become a blade. The carrier's halves drifted apart, still unaware they were dead, still processing the wound that had already ended them. The rest of the alien fleet recoiled. Their collective mind trembled. For the first time in their long history of conquest. They felt fear. The captain's voice finally broke the silence, a soft whisper, "Next target." The Black Star obeyed. The enemy mind swelled with panic as the Black Star vanished once more into a blur of distortion, slipping between folds of space like a shadow moving behind a curtain. Fleets that once advanced with animal certainty now wavered, formation lines bending and breaking as instinct clashed with confusion. Their hive intelligence, usually a seamless ocean of shared awareness, rippled with fractures, questions, fear impulses, the raw animal instinct to flee from something they could not comprehend. The Black Star felt those fractures as vibrations across the void, like the tremors of a wounded beast. It danced through them, using their panic as cover, drifting through curtains of radiation and debris until the battlefield spread beneath its hull like a tapestry of fire. Valorous, for loomed below, half its sky choked by drifting wreckage. Entire continents flickered with energy storms where orbital defense grids had collapsed. The planet's equatorial agricultural ring burned in a chain of molten arcs, while civilian cities stood in the shadow of the hive carriers still preparing for a second planet cracker strike. The last coordinated defense fleets were scattered, limping, or silent. The Black Star descended. Its hull shimmered with refracted starlight, its surfaces bending around gravity wells that orbited the ship like loyal guardians. Lightning rippled along its spine as systems realigned. No thruster plume, no engine roar, just a silent, predatory glide through the thinning clouds of debris. In the command node, the crew's breathing grew measured as the ship fed them the details, enemy weak points, gravitational eddies, the rhythm of the invader's psychic pulses. It was like stepping into the beating heart of a storm. Every flash of light outside translated into a whisper of data, every explosion feeding into the strange synchrony between vessel and crew. Below, a fortress city flickered with emergency lights. Thousands of civilians were gathered in its subterranean levels. Hundreds of wounded lay in the corridors. The city's shield dome flickered under a hail of organic artillery, acidic bolts that ate through the barrier one molecular layer at a time. The Black Star twisted its trajectory, time narrowed to a single line. A living cruiser, massive, reinforced with spiraling bone-like armor, descended toward the city, preparing to breach the dome by ramming straight through it. Its tendrils flared, and the creature ship screamed a psychic warning to its brethren. The attack would be final. The Black Star dove. It sliced down from orbit like a falling star, its spectral shields forming a luminous, curved barrier that cut through the atmosphere in silence. The living cruiser sensed something too late. Its armor plates shifted, its mantle thickened, claws extended in an instinctive attempt to deflect momentum. The impact was a whisper, not a collision, but a surgical deletion of mass. As the Black Star skimmed past it, half the cruiser simply wasn't there anymore. A clean line severed it from existence, the edges glowing with quantum burn. The remaining husk spun in the air, its psychic scream dissolving into static before it crashed into the ocean far beyond the city. Civilians below gazed up through the cracked shield dome. For a moment, the sky looked like a sheet of shifting auroras as the Black Star passed overhead, trailing shimmering distortions like ethereal wings. Children lifted their faces to the light. Medics paused mid-bandage. Soldiers stared with a mixture of hope and disbelief. The Black Star rose again into orbit. The remaining hive carriers were gathering into a single formation now, massive silhouettes blotting out starlight, each one pulsing with synchronized energy patterns. Their psychic network stabilized. Their fear hardened into resolve. A collective roar resounded across their link as they prepared to unleash a full-spectrum barrage. The Black Star hovered above Valoris, for like a lone sentinel, inside, the ship's neural core pulsed with a steady rhythm. Its quantum heart beat with an intensity the crew had never felt. The captain stood still, completely connected to the network of predictive light maps that flowed past his vision. He saw the entire battle like a living constellation, the positions, trajectories, potential futures branching outward in shimmering webs, and among those futures, one path burned brighter, the path where the hive was broken completely. The swarm opened fire, beams of dark radiation spiraled out like roots of a collapsing star, converging on the Black Star from all sides. Tendrils of antimatter plasma reached toward it like grasping hands. Time itself seemed to twist under the sheer density of destructive energy converging on one point. The crew braced, the Black Star did not, its spectral shields unfolded, not like plates, but like petals of a luminous bloom, each one refracting. Bending, warping physics. The incoming beam struck the shields, slowed, curved, then slipped past harmlessly as the ship manipulated space itself around their trajectories. The barrages that should have annihilated it simply bled into the void like drops of water rolling off glass. The hive mind hesitated again, a fatal hesitation. The Black Star answered with fury, its gravitational wings snapped outward, forming twin crescents of compressed spacetime. They flared with silent brilliance as they lashed through the enemy formation. Ships twisted unnaturally, hulls writhing as the very geometry around them distorted. Some collapsed inward, crushed by the sudden implosion of mass. Others stretched into thin, glowing ribbons before snapping apart, but this was not enough. The hive carriers still prepared their final strike. The Black Star gathered its power, not in the silent lance, but something deeper. Something it had not used since the day it was christened. A weapon only spoken of in simulations. The ship's core sank into a calm, absolute stillness as it prepared the singularity bloom. The crew felt it, a sense of weight, a sense of inevitability. A soft glow rippled across the ship's hull as it unfolded microscopic gravitic seeds into the void, scattering them like dust. The enemy sensed the anomaly too late. Their collective thoughts spiked with alarm. They tried to scatter, but the seeds pulsed. Once, a blooming horizon of distorted stars blossomed around the Black Star. The swarm froze in place, caught in invisible webs of gravity that bent every particle of their being. Their weapons sputtered. Their drives failed. Their psychic screams warped into nothing. Then the bloom contracted, space clenched, and the enemy formation collapsed into a moment of absolute silence. The bloom dissipated. Floating fragments, glowing, crystalline, drifted where the enemy armada had once stood. Valoris 4's night sky shimmered with falling particles that looked almost like snow, softly descending toward the burning planet. The Black Star dimmed its wings. The battle was finished, but the war was only beginning. The nights aboard the drifting arc ship Vanguard's Ember had become a strange symphony of mechanical hums, distant alarms, and the quiet murmur of humans refusing to die quietly. As the vessel sailed through the torn edges of a dying star system, humanity held its breath, knowing the storm that hunted them was closing in. The alien coalition, 15 species united only by their shared fear of humans, had shadowed them for days. Their ships flickered in and out of long-range scans like predatory silhouettes keeping a comfortable, patient distance. They no longer tried to hide. They wanted humans to see them coming, yet the humans continued their work. Deep in the engineering core, sparks carved golden arcs into the steel-blue air. Lieutenant Aaron Tarek wiped sweat and plasma soot from his forehead as the incomplete fusion rings glowed like halos behind him. He hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. The ship needed a miracle, and he was determined to build one with bare hands, broken tools, and the last fragments of ancient human technology recovered from the ruins of old Earth. The Ember trembled, as though the ship itself feared what hunted them. but the humans were not trembling. On the observation deck, Captain Leora Hayes stood like a statue carved out of battle-hardened hope. Stars painted her armor with quiet glints as she watched the formation of approaching alien war carriers grow denser. Each vessel was a titan of destruction built by species older and more powerful than humanity, yet even they moved with caution when humans were involved. The entire universe had learned the same lesson the hard way. Humanity was willing to burn everything, including themselves, if it meant their survival. In the lower decks, civilians who once feared war had changed. Children practiced emergency drills with the discipline of soldiers. Elders told stories of Earth's final stand, not with sorrow, but with pride glimmering behind tired eyes. Every corridor, every chamber of the Ember pulsed with the same spirit: humans adapt. Humans endure. Humans rise. A sudden tremor ran through the ship as sensor alarms blared a deep, resonant tone. The bridge lit up in emergency crimson. Officers shouted for distance readings, shield integrity, and weapons status. The alien fleet was accelerating, finally making their move, but humans were ready. The Ember shuddered again, but it wasn't fear, it was awakening. Aaron's voice crackled over the comms, ragged but triumphant. Captain. The core is online. Not stable, not safe, but online. If we fire it, we might rip space itself. But it will give us an exit. Leora allowed herself one breath. One heartbeat. Prepare it. The crew stiffened. No one questioned. No one hesitated. The alien war carriers locked weapons. The Ember's engines glowed brighter than they had in years. A boy in the civilian compartment held his sister's hand tighter, whispering that humans never run, they choose their battles. The alien fleet charged. The Ember dove, the newly awakened core, released a flash so bright that sensors fried across the pursuing armada. Space folded like a curtain drawn violently shut. For a heartbeat, the universe forgot its shape, then the Ember vanished through a tear of blinding white fire. Silence filled the void. When the light faded, the alien coalition stared into the emptiness where humanity had escaped. Not destroyed. Not cornered. Not conquered, escaped, and worse, humans had a habit of coming back stronger. Across their comms, uneasy diplomats, generals, and commanders whispered the same truth. They weren't hunting humans anymore, they were waking a storm. The tear in space spat the Vanguard's Ember into a region no map had ever charted. The stars here burned in strange colors, violet suns pulsing like slow heartbeats and nebulae shimmering in living blues and molten gold. Gravity rippled in waves, carrying a low hum that vibrated through the hull like a distant choir. The Ember drifted, wounded but alive. Emergency lights flickered across the deck as engineers scrambled to restore power. Thin trails of smoke danced in the air. Even with the core's uncontrolled surge, the ship had held together, barely. But the humans aboard were stirring. Coughing, rising, checking on those beside them. The same chorus repeated from every compartment: "We're alive. We keep going." Captain Leora Hayes limped onto the command bridge, holding her side where shrapnel had grazed her ribs. She waved off medical officers and stared at the starfield ahead. Something in this uncharted space felt ancient, older than known galaxies, older than recorded time. It wasn't hostile. But it wasn't empty, it was watching. Aaron Tarek emerged from the lift with dark circles under his eyes and grease streaked across his face. Still, he walked with the posture of someone who had wrestled death and won. "Captain. The core is stable, for now. But if we push it again, we risk turning the ship into a star." "So we don't push it," Leora muttered. "Not yet." The moment hung in the air as they stared into the swirling cosmic ocean ahead. Then the sensors chimed, not in alarm, but in curiosity. A structured pulse. A repeating rhythm. A signal, not alien in the familiar sense. Not like the coalition. This was older. Deeper. A mathematical sequence encoded in frequencies no species had ever documented. It wasn't calling them, it was answering them. Aaron leaned over the console, running diagnostics. Captain. This signal. It's reacting to the core. Whatever this place is, something recognizes our energy signature. Are they hostile? I don't think hostile is even a word that applies here. The ship trembled, not in danger, but in resonance. Like a tuning fork struck by unseen hands. The nebula before them parted, revealing structures suspended in emptiness. Massive rings of crystalline metal floated in perfect alignment, humming with power. Each one the size of a moon, glittering like frozen lightning, structures built by something impossibly old, structures that had been waiting, Leora whispered, are those gates? Aaron swallowed hard. If they are, Captain. They make every known technology in the galaxy look primitive. The largest ring shuddered, rotating in slow, deliberate motion. A corridor of swirling light opened at its center, stretching into infinity. The Ember's sensors screamed with data beyond interpretation, energies that defied physics, timelines bending and rearranging themselves. The signal pulsed again, a beckoning, an invitation. But humans had no intention of stepping blindly into another species' domain, not without understanding what hunted them first. Leora stood tall, her voice steady and sharp. Send a probe. The crew deployed a hardened drone rigged with every sensor they had. It shot into the luminous corridor, and vanished without a ripple. Then, shockingly, it reappeared on their monitors, transmitting from what looked like a colossal interior dimension, a reality folded inward and outward simultaneously. Structures floated like drifting continents, engraved with symbols that glowed when the probe approached. This place wasn't a weapon, it was a vault of knowledge, a vault of power, a vault built for civilizations who reached the brink of extinction, and refused to fall. Aaron inhaled sharply as the reading stabilized. Captain. Whatever built this new species like us would come here one day. Leora's voice dropped to a whisper. A fail-safe for the desperate. The Ember drifted closer, unthreatened, unchallenged. The corridor of light widened, as if acknowledging their arrival. As if recognizing their struggle. As if the universe itself had decided humanity had earned the right to enter. But before they could respond, the long-range sensors crackled, a distortion, a ripple, a familiar signature. The alien coalition had found their trail. They were tearing through space behind them, burning half their fleet just to follow humanity's impossible escape. Their vessels screamed into the hidden region with weapons blazing, fear outweighing caution. Their commanders shouted orders to advance, to corner, to strike before humans found something new to turn the tide, but they were too late. The vault rings stirred at the sight of the pursuers. Their crystalline surfaces shifted, awakening in defense of the refugees they had welcomed. The structures sang, an ancient, resonant frequency that rippled across the fabric of space. The alien warships slowed, stuttered, shook, then, one by one, their engines collapsed into silence. The vault had disabled them with a single thoughtless gesture. Aaron stared at the readings in disbelief. Captain. This place is protecting us. Leora exhaled with awe and something fiercer, deeper. Then let's learn what it wants us to become. The Ember glided into the swirling corridor as the vault welcomed humanity into its ancient heart. Behind them, the alien fleet drifted powerless, forced to witness the one truth they had feared above all. Humans were no longer just survivors, they were ascending. Silence unfolded around the Vanguard's Ember as it drifted deeper into the vault's luminous interior. The corridor behind them sealed with a gentle ripple of light, muting the furious coalition fleet struggling helplessly in the void outside. Ahead, the darkness blossomed into a vast chamber where gravity folded like drifting curtains and stars were born in slow-motion spirals. The ship glided into the heart of the construct. Structures the size of continents rotated in synchronized patterns, carved with impossible precision. Pillars of translucent alloy reached upward, humming with memories older than any species had ever recorded. Rivers of pure energy flowed through channels suspended in midair, pulsing like veins of a living cosmos. Every surface shimmered with geometric script, changing, responding, thinking. The vault had awakened for them, Lights flickered across the bridge as information cascaded into the Ember's sensors, too dense for any computer to untangle. Screens filled with impossible shapes, mathematics that bent reality, physics written in languages only creation itself could speak. Data flooded their systems not as knowledge to decode, but as invitations to evolve. Aaron stared at the screens, breath trembling. "Captain. This isn't technology. It's instruction." The crystalline world beneath them unfolded into steps, movements in a dance choreographed before humanity had ever been born. As the Ember drifted forward, the vault responded, adjusting its rhythm, aligning its structures to match the ship's wounded heartbeat. The constructs glowed brighter, casting warm gold across the ship's hull like a sunrise meant for them alone. Then the whisper came, not in spoken words, not in any known language. It came as a presence, a resonance within their bones, their breaths, the electricity of their thoughts. It threaded through the Ember like a memory they had forgotten they possessed. Every crew member felt it simultaneously, a quiet, patient intelligence older than galaxies, an intelligence watching humanity rise through war and chaos, an intelligence that had seen species burn out, collapse, surrender, an intelligence stunned that one small, reckless world had refused every fate written for it, and now it reached toward them. The Ember trembled as a beam of shimmering light enveloped the core chamber. The unstable drive, scarred, overstrained, still pounding like a furious heartbeat, rose from its containment clamps, suspended in weightless equilibrium. The vault scanned it, studying the reckless human solution carved from necessity and courage and desperation. The light pulsed, and the core changed, its fractured edges reknit. Its burning interior calmed into a steady, radiant glow. The impossible engine humanity had forced into existence was refined, strengthened, perfected. It became something new, still human in origin, but tempered by cosmic precision. A hybrid of defiance and destiny. Aaron's voice cracked. It's rewriting the core to match us. Not to control us, but to empower us. Leora watched the transformation with breathless awe. Then it understands what we're fighting for. The core settled softly back into the chamber, glowing like a captured star. Every reading spiked, stabilized, exceeded every theoretical limit by orders of magnitude. The power coursing through the Ember shifted from volatile fury into focused, controlled brilliance. Humanity had been given a weapon, but also a promise. The vault dimmed, its task complete. The structures rotated slower, humming like ancient guardians returning to dormancy. The chamber opened once more toward the exit, toward the helpless coalition fleet still drifting, powerless and terrified, in the void beyond. The path home was clear, but something else stirred at the far side of the vault. A final gift. A final message. A projection unfolded in the void, a star map rewritten with new pathways, corridors of space no species had ever traveled. Destinations uncharted. Worlds untouched. Warnings and opportunities intertwined. It wasn't a command, it was an offer. Humanity was no longer bound to the old routes of the galaxy. They had stepped into a wider universe, one that had been waiting for a species audacious enough to claim it. Leora placed a hand on the rail, grounding herself as she stared into the infinite blue of the exit corridor. "Set a course," she said softly. "We're not done." The Ember turned, engines humming with transcendent light. The corridor opened before them, spiraling outward into a bloom of stars. Behind them, the vault watched with quiet approval, and the instant the Ember emerged back into normal space, the coalition fleet regained power. Confusion erupted among their commanders. Fear rippled through their ranks. Their weapons locked onto the human ship, trembling at the readings radiating from its core. They broadcast frantic orders. "Surrender. Stand down. Don't fire. Don't anger whatever force the humans had found." But humanity never needed fear to command respect. The Ember's engines flared, carving arcs of light across the battlefield. Not firing. Not fleeing. Simply existing, proof of what humans could become when pushed to extinction's edge. The coalition ships held their breath, and the Ember drifted past them like a judgment, not attacking, not retaliating, just making one truth unmistakably clear: humanity answered their war with evolution. As the stars opened before them and the ship accelerated into the unknown, a single line echoed through the void, carried on the pulse of the perfected core, soft, steady, undeniable.